In Jujutsu Kaisen, power doesn't come from talent, it comes from suffering. And I don't just mean the physical pain, I mean the kind of stuff that people don't like talking about. Fear, anger, regret, the things that you keep in your head and don't say out loud. That's where power comes from in this world. But here's the part that makes it really uncomfortable. The same thing that gives sorcerers power is also the same thing that slowly destroys them. And once you really see it, you can't unsee it. Because in Jujutsu Kaisen, there are only two ways to exist. You either control your emotions or you become them. And the scary part, the ones that try to stay in control are already losing. And the reason why has a lot more to do with psychology than people think. Curse energy comes from negative emotions, that's basic, but what's actually interesting is what happens after that. Because sorcerers and curses both come from the same place, human emotion, same source, completely different outcomes. Sorcerers take those emotions and try to manage them, control them, shape them, turn them into something useful. In psychology, that's called emotional regulation, something we all do in real life. Like when you're angry, but you don't show it, or when something bothers you, but you just brush it off. But sorcerers take this to an extreme. Because they don't just regulate emotions, they suppress it. And suppression is different because suppression doesn't solve anything, it just pushes it somewhere else. Curses don't do that. They don't regulate anything, they don't suppress anything, they don't even think about it, they just exist as the emotion itself. And that difference right there, that's where the entire psychological imbalance starts. To be a sorcerer is to live under a constant pressure, not just from fighting, but from yourself. Because they don't process emotions the same way normal people do, they compress them. Everything they go through, death, fear, guilt, responsibility, it doesn't get processed, it gets stored, and then reused as a power. Think about that in real life for a second. Imagine every bad thing that ever happens to you, instead of dealing with it, you had to bottle it up and use it over and over and over again. That's not healthy. That's not strength. That's survival. Let's look at Yuji for example. Yuji feels everything, probably more than anyone else in the series, and that's actually his biggest problem. Because in this world, feeling too much is dangerous. If his emotions spike too hard, his curse energy becomes unstable. So what does he do? Same thing a lot of people do in real life. He pushes it down, acts normal, keeps moving, but psychologically, that's an emotional suppression, and the thing about the suppression is it always comes back, just not when you expect it. Then you have Nanami. Nanami is honestly one of the most realistic characters in the show because he already understands how bad life is, so instead of trying to feel his way through it, he does the opposite. He turns it into a job, a routine, a system. Clock in, do the work, clock out. And psychologically, that's very close to dissociation, where you separate yourself from what you're feeling just to keep functioning. Because if you actually let it hit you, you wouldn't be able to keep going. And that's the real cost of being a sorcerer. They protect people, but they also slowly lose the ability to feel like one. Now let's look at the curses. They don't have that problem at all. They don't suppress anything, they don't hesitate, they don't reflect, they don't question themselves. They just act. Because they are pure emotion. Psychologists like Carl Chung called this the shadow, the part of you that you don't show people, the part you hide, your anger, your jealousy, your worst thoughts, the things you don't say out loud. In Jujutsu Kaisen, those things don't stay hidden, they become real. And do you know who the perfect example of this is? It's Mahito. Mahito is the perfect example. He doesn't struggle with identity, he plays with it. While normal people spend their whole lives asking, who am I? Mahito decides instantly, no doubt, no guilt, no second guessing, but that's what makes him terrifying. Because a sorcerer is always fighting two battles, the enemy in front of them and the emotion inside them, Mahito only fights one, because everything inside him is already aligned. That's why Jogo says curses are the true human. Not because they are better, but because they're honest. They don't hide what they feel. They don't pretend. They are exactly what humans try not to be. And in psychology, when there's no internal conflict, there is no hesitation. And hesitation gets you killed. Think of it like this. Sorcerers are a dam. Everything they feel gets held back, controlled, contained. But the stronger the dam, the more pressure builds behind it. And the pressure doesn't just disappear, it builds and builds until something cracks. Curses aren't a dam. They are the flood. They don't hold anything back. They just move. And because of that, they're always in what psychology is called the flow state. This is where action and identity are the same thing. No overthinking, no hesitation, just movement. And this is why domain expansions matter so much. It's not just a power up, it's a psychological moment. It's the one-time sorcerers stop holding everything back, stops filtering, stops suppressing, and their inner world becomes real. For a moment, they stop fighting like humans and start fighting like curses. But here's the problem. That kind of control, it doesn't last forever. Everyone has a limit, not physically, mentally. And in real psychology, this is where things like burnout happen or emotional collapse. Because suppression isn't strength, it's delayed damage. You can ignore your emotions, but they don't ignore you. Eventually, they come back, and when they do, it's usually all at once. So at the end of all this, who's actually more human? The one who suppresses everything to protect others, or the one who expresses everything without restraint? There's no clean answer. That's what makes it uncomfortable. Because Jujutsu Kaisen isn't just showing fights, it's showing what happens when people try to control parts of themselves that they don't understand. Sorcerers aren't losing to curses, they are losing to themselves, to everything they've been holding back. The meat tries to stay in control, but the shadow doesn't go away. It waits.